Hi, everybody. I'm Marta. I lead business development at SubQuery. I am a little bit jet-lagged, but happy to be here. We flew from New Zealand to be here, connect with partners, builders, customers, so we are very excited to be here. And for this particular event, we wanted to discuss multi-chain indexing, which is one of our core features, something we believe brings a lot of value to builders, and we think this event is just a perfect occasion to discuss multi-chain indexing challenges and also see how SubQuery helps builders overcome them. And this is the topic of this talk. So to start with, what SubQuery is. Yes. We are an open source, flexible, customizable, fast indexer. You can think about SubQuery as an API for customizable API for your DApp. We help builders get data from chain in a faster and more efficient way. Blockchains are solving a lot of issues for builders. They're bringing a lot of development and changing the world, but they're not designed for querying data. So this is the problem we are solving. So we're trying to help builders focus on their end functionality and have access to the data in the fastest possible way so that they can deliver great experience to their users. But we also want to not only focus on user-friendly application, modern application, but also developer-friendly environment and developer-friendly development processes. So that's why we put a lot of efforts into it. And what indexing does, and what SubQuery does essentially, it allows you to get data from the chain. It saves it in a database that you can then query through GraphQL API endpoint. And as you can see, we can work with any project. Like essentially, if you need some data from the chain, you may need indexer. You may build it on your own, but you can use also solutions which are available out there and focus on building your own project and functionality for your users. And we support many networks. I will talk more about it in a second, but we also work with projects from different verticals. You can use indexers for applications like analytics applications like blockchain explorers, but also for narrowed down use cases. And we have users who are building the apps from any possible vertical, from NFT marketplaces, from social-fi, DeFi, gamify, so a lot of different use cases. And we are happy to be faster than the graph. We monitor it closely. Performance is key factor for us. We also have a lot of features that make projects built with SubQuery unique. So we allow historic state indexing, real-time indexing of unfinalized blocks, indeterministic indexing. We are very flexible and have a lot of cool features. So just take a look at our documentation. And as I said previously, we do support a lot of networks, and it's currently more than 150. Polkadot is our mother ecosystem. This is where we started, but we quickly went beyond Polkadot to other ecosystems like Cosmos, EVM, of course, Near, Flare, Stellar, and many more. And to give you an overview, here are some of the biggest, or like we thought most important changes that we wanted to feature, but here is the link to all the current state of our support. And if you are here and you're a part of network team, make sure to reach out. We are here and would love to bring you on board. We made it fairly easy for our developer team to bring support for more chains, and we'll be definitely growing. We believe in multi-chain future, multi-chain projects, so that's why we put a lot of effort into bringing support for new networks. And then going to issues related with multi-chain indexing. So essentially, blockchain space is hard. The tech is complex. And personally, I'm coming from Web 2. And I was working for many startups, and the pace is fast. But the pace in blockchain is completely different. So to stay on top of what's happening, or stay on top of new technology, and who's building and on what, it's self-hard. So that's a problem. But then we also observe a growing tendency of blockchain becoming more and more specific, like application-specific chains. Polkadot itself, Cosmos zones, Avalanche subnets, Optimism stack. And this is great for use cases. This brings a lot of value to ecosystems, but it also causes a problem for developers. So there isn't data incompatibility. You're dealing with different RPC interfaces, different API protocols, data handlers. And if you want to index data from different chains, you will need to build different indexing projects, and you will need to unify this data somehow somewhere in your application stack to be able to power up your application easily. So this is something that can be solved for builders, and this is exactly where SubQuery shines. And also we are in the position to partner with many projects as a tooling provider, and we talk with many partners and customers, and we see that this is multi-chain use case. It becomes more and more important and is like a key requirement for new emerging projects. So definitely this is the future. And SubQuery built a solution that allows you essentially to index data from different chains, but into one database, which you can then query through one single endpoint. So this solves a lot of issues that I have mentioned previously, and this is truly write once and run anywhere solution. And you can index data from sources like EVM, substrate-based Cosmos within one project, and have the data shape tailored for your project, for your application, and then you can easily digest this data and solve the issue of data incompatibility for yourself. And behind the curtain, SubQuery actually runs many like separate indexers. So we have each node for every chain you want to index, but then we save it all in one database, and we provision this one single GraphQL API endpoint for you to query this data. And then to show you some examples, because it's a Polkadot context, so let's think you want to do some analytics for cross-chain messaging transfers, and you are looking at one parachain, and you want to index the transfers going to smart contract, which resides on a different parachain, which is EVM compatible. This requires for you to make two separate indexing projects, and then possibly, not possibly, but for sure, separate tables and maybe even separate databases. And then you have to work on querying, you have to work on unifying this data so you can then use it within your application. And this is something you don't have to worry about with SubQuery. And essentially working with SubQuery, for you it's changing 3 files. So for the schema file, this is the file where you define your objects in your database. A manifest file is like a configuration file where you are able to define what and from where you want to index. And then mappings file, this is where magic happens. You get data from the chain in a payload of your function. You do some logic, transformation of this data or not, and then you save it in your database. For multi-chain setup, you will need to enable it. You can do it either through command line or in the project itself. And then for each chain, you would need to have a different manifest file. And the rest should be the same as for single chain indexing. But don't worry, we made it simple for developers to actually get this different manifest file for every chain, so you can do it with one command through our SubQuery CLI. And for more information around how it works, check this guide, which is here. You can access it through the QR code here. But I will also show you quickly the project. And the project that I want to show you indexes transfers across Polkadot, Kusama, and Asset Hub. And here you have a code to the project itself on the left side, and on the right side there is like a longer blog post explaining everything step by step, why we are doing it, why it's important. But I want to show it to you, so let's see. Not sure how much time I have. Okay, so this is this project, and here, as I mentioned previously, I want to show you that we provision 3 different nodes, each for a certain network. So for this project, it's Polkadot here. And then we have Kusama. And then there will be Asset Hub here. And they all point to the same database. So this is important. So 3 different nodes, but saving data in the same database. And then I've mentioned schema GraphQL. So this is the file where I want to start. This is essentially where you define the data shape. So this is the result of your query. You will get data in this shape for this project. And it's all customizable. You can change it as much as you want. And this will be the same shape for data coming from every chain in this project. So this is pretty cool. And then want to show you one of the manifest files. For multi-chain project, we also need this file that references all the manifest files. Usually for single chain, you won't see it. And then let's say, for example, Kusama. So this is here our configuration file. And the top part, it's not that important. Where I want to focus is here network. So this is the place where you define from where you want to index, essentially. This is all adjustable, so you can change it. And this is the place where all the 3 manifest files in this project will vary from each other. Essentially, for more of the use cases, the data sources will remain the same. And in this part of the code, you define from where you want to index. So here we have like the first block, but it can be any other. And then in the handlers, you define what type of data you want to index, what type of events, which module, which method. You can be as specific as you want. And there are more than 1 handlers to be used. And this handle Kusama event will match with a function in mappings file, where we go right now. And this is the last file I want to show you. And here we go. So we have handle Kusama event. So this is exactly matching the handler from the manifest file. And what happens is that indexer goes from this block first that we pointed to, and then goes block by block and checks if there is an event that matches our filters. If it does find it, then it will execute this function. And here, this function actually points to another one, handle event. And as you can see, it's the same method for both Polkadot and Kusama handlers. So that's why this is how it works. And within this function, we do like a complex logic, essentially checking if a certain account exists or not, doing some other operations. But most importantly, we actually populate the properties of this object with data that we got from the chain, and we save it in a database. This part of SubQuery project is quite flexible. So you can use external APIs, libraries. You can call another application. You can trigger something else within your application stack from this moment. So, and you can imagine getting some data even from off-chain context and be able to actually enrich your database with this data in that specific moment. So this is pretty powerful. And this is the third file you usually work with when using SubQuery. And then what you will have is that you can host it locally. You can also host it with us. So make sure to check our documentation for our managed services. But you will provision GraphQL API endpoint for you to query the data. And here is this project deployed for us to see how it would work. So essentially, you will just get the response to every properties of the object in your query. And this is, of course, up to you how you query, and you can use GraphQL language to query this data. And then going back to slideshow. If you need more information, feel free to check our documentation. We put a lot of efforts in updating it and making it as actionable and valuable for developers as possible, and also join our community. Get inspired by others, learn what others are building, and our team is also present there. We have a busy technical support channel with a lot of cool questions, so feel free to also come along there. And thank you so much for being here. SubQuery. It was a pleasure, and we are here for the whole week. So make sure to get in touch. Here is my Telegram handle. I'm happy to discuss SubQuery in detail, learn about your project, and see if we could be a great fit, if you could use SubQuery. Or if you are a network team, if we could onboard you and bring support for builders in your ecosystem with this open source indexing tool. Once again, thank you for your time, attention, and let's be in touch.